Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Start Now podcast. My name is Nomin. I'm an entrepreneur and an English teacher from Mongolia. I'm very excited to finally launch this podcast that I've been thinking about for over a year now. I want to make this podcast educational and motivational for both entrepreneurs and English learners. So, I'll be making worksheets that have the outline for each episode with some exercises that you can do while listening to the show. You don't need to be an English student to use it. It's for anyone who likes to take notes. Also, if you are a visual learner like me, you can watch the live video on my YouTube channel. You can find the links for the worksheet and YouTube video in the description. Now, let's get started. As my first guest, I have Henriette Danel. She's a strategic business coach who lives in London but is from South Africa originally. She speaks Afrikaan, English, and a little bit of French. She's a business owner and a non-native English speaker. I would say she's the perfect guest for my first episode. So she's going to talk about 3 elements that you have to have when you're planning to start a business or already have one but need some guidance. I hope you enjoy. Okay. Hi, Henriette. Nice to meet you.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, me too. Okay, so you are actually my first guest on my podcast. So I'm very nervous and very excited to have you here. So tell us about yourself.
Well, first of all, like I said, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm thrilled that I'm your first one. So no, that's really an honor. So like you said, my name is Henriette Danel. I'm a strategic business coach and I help entrepreneurs attract more clients so they can grow their businesses. And basically, I didn't start in the entrepreneurial world at all. I was in a completely different industry. I used to work in the interior design industry in Chelsea Harbour here in London in the UK. I was there for over 11 and a half years, worked for an amazing company. But I just think I grew to a point where I kind of felt that I needed to make a transition into the entrepreneurial world. And the reason I'm saying that is from the age of 13, I always had this idea that I would one day start my own business. But as life goes on, you start going into the corporate world, you start getting comfortable. And then I just realized that if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do that. Yeah. So yes, I started my own business. I'm a business coach and I'm working with amazing people all around the world.
Okay, that is so awesome to hear. How long have you been doing business coaching?
So business coaching has been going on for about 3 years, 2.5 years to 3 years, to be very honest. Because I started while working full-time, I started my business along the side. So I needed to make sure first that the transition was going to be working, that what I was going out to do was going to be aligned with who I am and what I wanted to achieve and accomplish. So I guess you can say that was a little bit of a test run, really, to go and see if business coaching was something that I would enjoy. Now, the reason why I love business coaching is because when I was in the entrepreneurial world, I always joke and say I was the go-to girl. Whenever there was a problem or an issue, everybody just said, go to Hen. She's got to figure it out. She will figure it out. She always comes up with a plan. Yeah. So I always came up with strategies or ways how to work around problems. And that kind of helped me and developed me in such a way as well. When problems come up, when people come to me with their problems, I kind of see the bigger picture. And I don't know if it is a skill or a strength. I don't know what you want to call it, but there's just a certain way and a certain aspect that I can look at things objectively and then kind of figure out and put the puzzle together and say, well, I think this is what we need to go for in order to get out to the other end. Yeah. So I guess that was just kind of like one of those things that led me to where I am now.
I guess when you were in the interior design world, right, industry for 11 years, you said, I'm sure you had a moment you were like, okay, I gotta start my business now or never, right? But was it always business coaching? Was that your first idea or did you have other ideas first?
Oh no, gosh, it transitioned from one thing to the other. So it started off where I definitely knew I wanted to go online. So I know I wanted to do something online. First of all, technology is making it so easy for us to do an online business. So I was playing around with the idea is as to whether I'm going to sell physical products or services. Now, when I said services, I didn't even know about coaching. I knew there were people who were doing coaching, but oh my gosh, that was so far out of reach for me. That never even popped up in my mind. So I started off thinking about what it is that I don't want. I didn't want to go down the affiliate route. That really didn't resonate with me. I didn't want to go down into being a blogger per se, where I'm completely dependent on having ads all over my blog. I need things clean and crisp. You know, coming from an interior design background, that's kind of just where I feel things need to have sleek lines and clean. So I kind of knew that there were certain elements I didn't want. So when I put those out of the door, I just decided, what is it that I really, really want? I did love blogging. But then again, I kind of felt that it was just so long-winded. It wasn't something that I can spend a lot of attention on while working full-time. And as I started mingling with women and talking to other entrepreneurs, I started realizing that there was this element where I could really connect with people and help them with their problems, i.e. starting a business or what it is that they need to do in order to get out of this troubled situation with their business. And that's where that strength kind of came back. And I started teaching women, which obviously led on to me developing some online courses. And that just started developing then into business coaching. So the business coaching is now kind of the bigger entity of my business. But along the side, I still have my online courses and, of course, my own podcast that I'm running as well.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So you're a business coach, podcast host, and also, what was the third one? Online courses.
Online courses, yes.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, so before we talk about more about the three elements of any business, successful business, I want to hear the journey that brought you, because you are from South Africa, right?
Yes.
And then now you are in London, so I want to hear more about that as well.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So I'm originally from South Africa, grew up in such a small town. Basically I joke and I always say I'm plucked from the bush because I'm from a small town in the bushveld. Grew up in a place where there was just abundant of wildlife. You know, we went on safari sometimes on weekends, and sometimes now thinking about it, we were actually so fortunate growing up like that, but you don't realize it until you're not there anymore and you're not part of that environment. And I think one of the things you and I might have touched upon a little bit was the fact that obviously English is not my first language. So I actually speak Afrikaan, which is my native language. And I just had an opportunity one day to go abroad, start traveling a little bit, working abroad. And that led me in some senses to where I am now in the UK. This is now where I'm established. I'm running my business from the UK. But, you know, regardless of where I'm running my business from, you can do things like this from anywhere.
Yeah.
So apart from just being originally from South Africa, I think one of the hardest kind of transitions for me was kind of just getting over that fear barrier of talking English the whole time. And I think this is one of the things that you and I touched upon previously is, oh my gosh, I still make so many mistakes. My podcast, I can't tell you, sometimes when I go and do the editing of my podcast, I'm thinking, I got so many tenses wrong and I said so many words wrong, but that's okay. That's fine because yes, I'm not perfect. My English is not perfect. My vocabulary is still expanding, but that's part of the growth. So, you know, I don't settle for perfection. I'd rather get the content out there and people is just got to accept me for who I am. But English is not my first language, but I am still on a journey to learn and obviously expand on that.
Do you speak any other languages?
I speak a little bit of French. Now, when I say a little bit, let me just make that clear. I understand more than I can speak French. The reason for that is my husband is French. So he's French. I'm South African, but we're both living in the UK. And yes, that was one of the things as well, I think, that made the transition so much easier because we're communicating, both of us, in English towards each other. So we kind of helped each other as well develop our vocabulary and develop having that fluency of communicating with one another or with friends or family, regardless of where we are.
Mm-hmm. That's very good. So that's interesting. English is also not my first language, so I totally, completely understand. Another question that I had in my head was online world. Now people can do business coaching or blogging from anywhere. So really, uh, anyone who can speak English can get into this business and entrepreneurship. Like there are so many opportunities for everyone, right? So my question is, do you have clients whose first language is not also English? So what do you think they get different challenges because of that? And what are your tips and advice on overcoming the English barrier?
Yes, oh, that's a brilliant question. And to answer the question, sweet and short, yes, I do have a lot of clients. I'm coaching, in particular, female entrepreneurs from all around the world, where English is not their first language. So the first thing is in order to understand and communicate that with them, when I know that English is not their first language, obviously I want to make sure that they're comfortable with the conversation we're having. And I tell them upfront that when we go through the coaching program, the first thing is they need to tell me if I'm talking too fast. Sometimes, my mind runs away my mouth can't keep up. But I tell them to be honest with me and tell me to slow down. Or if I'm saying or explaining something in particular and they don't understand it, they have to tell me. So I can obviously explain it in such a sense that makes sense for them. Otherwise, they're just going to listen but not take in the information.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other part of that is it's just that trust factor between me and my student, in particularly because they know that they're learning from me and I'm not rushing through things to get a session done. But I want to make sure that even though my business is English orientated and I use English only for my business all the time, that I want to make sure that they obviously can take that information and apply it to their businesses.
Okay, very good. Okay, so can you tell us more about the 3 elements of any successful business that you want to share?
Yes. So basically, it's something I love talking about, in particular because this is the kind of 3 elements to success that I use when I coach my students. The first one is obviously mindset, and I'll dive a little bit deeper into each one of them. The second one is the strategy, and then the last one is the action. Now, one of those elements can't function without the other one. You need to have all 3 of those elements in place in order to have a success. Now, here's the best part. You don't have to use those 3 elements just in business. You can use it in any other aspect of your life, which makes it so amazing. But if we come back to the business element or to the usage of these 3 elements in business, if we look at mindset in particular, if your mindset is not set up right with how you want to run your business, what are your goals, what it is that you're aiming for at the end of the day, then you might struggle to implement the second or the third element. Now, there's always the saying about 80% is about mindset, and 10% is about the strategy, and another 10% is about the action.
Wow.
So if you've got the best strategy in the world and you're taking the action, but your mindset is not orientated in the right sense in order to help yourself see that success before it's even happened, well, basically you're going to struggle. You're not going to move forward. And I always use this kind of story really when The Lion King came out, the 3D Lion King version came out last year. And the story about the Lion King was more about Simba discovering what his mission or his purpose in life really was. Mm-hmm. And that obviously led him back to him fulfilling that mission and walking back into his dad's footsteps. Now, for any one of us, once it comes to that question about what is my mission or my purpose in life, which is a question I get so many times, and I'm sure everybody's still asking themselves that question, I've actually got this little theory which I would like to share with everybody about your mission and your purpose. Now, if you want to start a business, if you are running a business, you're still wondering and thinking, oh my gosh, what is my purpose with this business? What is my mission really? What am I doing here? And you're almost trying to find out what that answer is before you move on, before you actually take the next step and move on in your business in order to expand and to grow it, or actually even just to start a business. Now, here's the thing. Your mission basically is just to go on this journey, whether it is to start a business, to run your business, or whatever other journey you're taking in your life. Your mission is to go on that journey. Your purpose is something that you will not find out at the beginning of that journey. You're only going to find out what your purpose is at the end of that journey. So there's no need for you to wait and try and figure out what your purpose is before you start on this journey. It is something that you will only discover at the end. Mm-hmm. Now, evidently, whatever your purpose is, it will be a legacy that you are going to leave behind. Now, you can decide whatever that legacy is going to be, but that is going to be your main purpose. So whatever your goal, whatever your dream is, don't try and think or figure out, what is my purpose in life? What is my mission? Where am I going? What do I need to do? Just go on this journey. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, you will obviously find out what that purpose is. Now, we can definitely go on and we can talk for hours on this topic alone. But I just wanted to make that clear, because once it comes to the mindset, you need to think about where you're going, or just actually taking the action and moving forward and go on this journey, but knowing that eventually you will find out what your purpose is.
Yes. So purpose is different from your goal. Is that right?
Yes, because your goal is kind of like a roadmap. If you think about it, you're here at the beginning and you've got this map in front of you. You want to reach a destination, and you're not sure how you're going to get there, even though you've got a roadmap. Now, even if you go on this map and you follow every single road, you might hit a diversion, or they've closed a part of the road. So you've got to go, left, and you've got to go drive up north and then come back down south and then go back north again before you can get back onto the road in order to where you want to go. So your goal at the end of the day is just your end destination. Now, your goal doesn't have to be your purpose, because let's face it, your purpose is still far away. Your goal is something that is much more closer to what you can achieve right now, what you can achieve in the next 3 months, 6 months, year, 3 years, 5 years. Those are goals that you're setting up for yourself and you're working towards them. And when all those goals are combined, at the end of the day, that will fulfill your purpose.
I see. Very interesting. I've never heard of it put like that. Yeah.
It's just creating a little bit of a picture, just so there's a bit of sense behind it, rather than just hearing all these words and it's just jumbling along and thinking, yes, I know my purpose. I need to figure out what my purpose is. But I think if you create a little bit of a picture, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, like you don't have to have all the answers before you start.
Exactly.
Right? Gotcha.
Exactly. Now, that leads us to the second element, because obviously you don't need all the answers, but you need to have kind of a strategy as to what you're going to do. Now, in the business world, there are so many strategies, especially online, of what you can do in order to help help your business grow or help get more customers or clients. Now, if you want to break it down, there are only 4 elements under strategy that you really need. So the first thing is you need a strategy for visibility. What are you going to do to become more visible to your ideal customers or your audience, so they can obviously get to know who you are or what your business is all about? So you need a strategy for visibility. Then you need a strategy for attraction. What are you going to do to attract your ideal customers to who you are and what you do? Then you need a strategy for relationships. What are you going to do to build this relationship with your potential customer? And then obviously the last element or the last strategy that you need is the transformation, because you're not just getting customers or clients in order to sell something to them to move on and make money. Yes, that is the buy part of it, but you're actually doing it in order to help your customers or your clients to transform them, take them from where they are now to where they want to be. Now, in the coaching world, that is a great example, because all my students are at a certain point in their business or in their life, and they want to go through a transformation process in order to get the result they want. So I've got a strategy for that. Now, here's the best part. You don't need to do all of the strategies. You don't need to do Pinterest, Facebook. You don't need to do all of them. You don't need to go and do 1,000 online courses in order to make money. You don't need to do 1,000 things in order to have this relationship, create this relationship with potential customers. You really just need one or at least a maximum 2 strategies of each of those elements in order to really have a good system in place in order to run your business from. And you can start really small. You don't have to overcomplicate it for yourself. So just to confirm that again. So the strategy is to how the couple of strategies that you need is for visibility, attraction, relationship, and the transformation. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need to overcomplicate it. So I don't know what your thoughts would be on this.
Yeah, I think I really like how you separated the elements into 4 sections, because I do have strategy, but they're all kind of mixed, right? Jumbled together. But when you separate it like that, okay, what's my strategy for visibility, and then attraction, relationship, and then transformation? I think I've been teaching English online in Mongolia for a year now. And when you were speaking, I was thinking back. I'm like, okay, what strategies did I have in each of those? So I think I had the 3, everything except visibility. And I think transformation and relationship, they kind of, work together, and they're kind of overlapped, right? But yeah, so now I realized that, okay, I didn't have a strategy for visibility. And because I didn't have a strategy for visibility, it affected my second one, which is
the attraction.
Attraction, yes. Yeah, that's right. So I think if I had put a different strategy on my visibility, my attraction would have been more. It's not that my attraction strategy didn't work. It's just it wasn't as big or as much as I wanted it to be.
Exactly. Now, there's another thing I need to point out here as well when it comes to strategy. No matter what strategy you're implementing, we get so overwhelmed with the amount of strategies available. And when I talk about strategies, let's use visibility as an example. Clear example there. You've got Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. You've got so many strategies in order to get visibility for yourself and for your brand. And the mistake that so many of the new entrepreneurs are making is that they go and try and do it all. And you get so overwhelmed because every one of those kind of platforms that you're using to get visibility is something that you need to use consistently. And you can't be consistent as an individual trying to grow your business on all of those platforms at the same time. You're going to get so overwhelmed. Something's going to give at a point. So what they're doing is they're trying to use all of these platforms in order to get visibility. It doesn't work for them, so they drop off the platform and they go and try and look for something new. What is new? What is the new latest strategy that everybody is talking about? And then they go and try out that strategy or try out that platform, and it doesn't work for them. So they sweep that one out of the door, and then they go and look for something else again. And that's your reason. That's why you're not seeing any success. Every strategy that you take, you need to hone in on that strategy. You need to pull it through. Look at it again, revise it, and then see what worked, what didn't work, but then implement it again and repeat the process. Do it again and again and again. The more you do it, the more you're going to see the attraction happening because you are using the same strategy consistently, which is why I said in the beginning, at least choose 1 or 2 strategies for each of these aspects under strategy in particular. So yes, that's the main problem. We get so focused on this new shiny object, this new shiny platform, this new shiny thing that we can do here and there. But by getting distracted and trying new things and dropping what we are working on could be a bad thing for you. So definitely zoning in on one strategy and running it. And then, yes, there could be a point where you find, listen, this is not really aligned with who I am. I don't enjoy Facebook groups. As an example, I don't like having a Facebook group because it is just not really something who I am. It's not aligned with what I do. So maybe that is not for you. Then you can go and really look at another strategy. But the idea is at least to give it a try. Now, I don't say there's a rule of thumb, but at least give it a try for 6 months. Take a strategy, run it for 6 months. Now, either it's not going to work after 6 months, which is fine. But I can promise you, if you run something for 6 months, you will see attraction.
I see. Very interesting. Okay. And what about the third element?
Okay, so the third element is the big one.
Mm-hmm.
This is all about taking the action.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you and I had a lovely conversation about this as well at one point.
Yes.
When it comes to action, this is the biggest hurdle for everybody. Yes, we can say we've got the right mindset, we think about all the things we want, and we can get all these strategies, and we can look at all these strategies and decide, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have all of these elements. And then when you physically have to come and take that first step, you stand there and you're thinking, and you overthink things too much that you actually limiting yourself. And what is the word? See, now I'm thinking of the English and I'm trying to think of the English word. You're basically immobilizing yourself from taking that first initial step. And here's the best part. Every step that you take in the direction of starting a business, implementing a strategy in your business, whatever that first step is, you actually get rewarded. And that reward that you are getting for every step you're taking is confidence. Now, a lot of the reasons why we don't want to take that first step, we don't want to start our business, we don't want to take that leap of faith, is because we're scared. Number one, because we don't have confidence in ourselves. We're scared of what other people might think. We're scared of what if this would fail. And it all comes down to confidence. So if you think about it this way, every step that you take forward, you actually get rewarded with that confidence. And then after a few steps, you get so much more confidence, you're going to start taking leaps. The more leaps you take, the more confident you're going to get as well. So it's all about just taking a strategy, taking that step, looking at it and thinking, oh my gosh, this is actually something that could work. Let me revise that. Let me repeat the process. And then you take another step. What happens? You get more confident because you've just learned something with that step you took. And this is one of the biggest things. People need to understand that with any business you're running, with any steps you're taking in life, doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, there's no such thing as mistakes. It's only lessons. Mistakes are really just lessons that you're learning. And it's up to you as to how you're going to swing that around. Are you going to see it in a negative aspect? Or are you going to see it as a fact that, okay, that was a mistake, but it is something I learned from. So you take the next step. What happens? You get rewarded with more confidence. And it's just a repeatable process over and over again. So for any of your audiences now listening to this and thinking, oh my gosh, I just need to start my business. I just need to move forward. I need to grow. I need to do this. Just take one step at a time and get that confidence. Then take the next step. And you're going to see it's going to snowball. It's going to just run and run and run. And you're going to love every minute of it.
Yes. Very good. Thank you so much. That was very informative. So I'm trying to connect, because you said these three elements, we can use it in the other aspects of our lives, right? So I'm thinking how to use it. I think that one was more for service industry. Would you say so? So if it's like products, do you add more elements to it? So if you're trying to sell a product, what would you add?
The principle would stay the same. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, whether you're selling a product or a service, it is about you as the individual. You're running your business. Now, let's say, for example, you're selling handbags. You've got somebody to manufacture the handbags and you're selling them. Now, there's a difference between a brand and a personal brand. At the end of the day, a personal brand is more about your face, who you are, and people connecting with you, that relationship that you have with people. People don't buy your product. They buy the product of who you are. People don't buy your service. They buy the service of who you are. Yes, obviously they want the benefit at the end of the day. Yes, obviously they want the product at the end of the day. They want your handbags. Let's face it, they're amazing handbags. But why did they buy it in the first place? Because they connected with who you are as a brand. You're the face of your brand. So I think it's very important that in order to distinguish or to talk about how to use these three elements, mindset, strategy, and action, even in a product-based business, remember always that it's not your product that you're selling, it is who you are that is doing the selling. Everybody is unique. Everybody's got their own unique strengths, their unique smiles, their unique way of communicating. And that's what's going to attract people to you. That's what's going to attract your customers and your clients. And they're going to want to buy from you even so much more because of who you are. What are you doing and what are you standing for in order to make sure that your brand is aligned with who you are and with your own unique skills and strengths?
Yeah, very interesting. So in modern days, now with Instagram and YouTube, I think personal brand has increased and gotten on a whole nother level, right? So would you say it's almost necessary to have a personal brand in order for your business to succeed?
Well, that depends on the individual. Let's look at it this way. If you look at corporate brands, now I'm not going to say names here, but you can think of an international corporate brand that is huge, whatever you're thinking of. That brand has been around for quite some time. Okay, they've got a long history behind them. Now, that started with an idea as well, and they had to work their way throughout, how many years in order to build that business. But it all started with an individual or two individuals. And there's a lot of money invested in that corporate brand in order to have the success they have today. But where it comes to an individual brand, a personal brand, you've got, how can I say, an advantage almost. Because if you are in the right mindset, if you've got the right kind of presence, you've got the right visibility, you've got the right confidence, people are going to get attracted to who you are. Now, this also comes back to the mindset of abundance. You can't just think that, oh my gosh, these kind of clients over there, they're just going to this person. They're not coming to me. Why are they not coming to me? Maybe because they're not your clients. They're not the right kind of people for you. So with you as a personal brand, you kind of have the luxury of deciding who you want to work with, who you want to serve, because there's more enough for everybody. And that's why we talked about the strategy of attraction. That's where that attraction comes in, because you will automatically start attracting the right type of customers or clients to who you are. As an individual and as a personal brand. So when it comes to Instagram, it's all about that visibility and letting people see who you are. Let people see that you're not unique. You're not this princess. You make mistakes. You enjoy what you do behind the scenes, all those kind of things. When it comes to Instagram, it's a great platform in order to get visibility, but so is Facebook. It's all about, number one, finding out where your customers, your ideal customers or clients would be hanging out. If your ideal customers are hanging out on Instagram, do Instagram. If your ideal customers are actually hanging out on Facebook, do Facebook. If they're doing both, do both. Again, don't get overwhelmed and try too many things. As an example, I started with my personal brand. I started huge, big time on Facebook. I was on my Facebook page, Facebook groups, everywhere. But then I found out that my ideal customers were not really hanging out there, or my ideal clients were not really there. So I moved and transitioned over to Instagram because I found out there were more of my ideal clients hanging out on Instagram. And then I also realized that the majority of them were also on Pinterest. So I combined those two. So the two main strategies for me that I'm using for visibility and attraction is Instagram and Pinterest. And those are the only two main strategies that I'm using now. So it just depends on you. You're not going to know off the cuff immediately where they are. Yes, it would be great if we all knew that, but it is possibly a transition period that you've got to go through and kind of find out where they're hanging out. And then once you kind of figure that out, implement that system and that strategy and run with it, repeat the process over and over again.
Interesting. Okay. Another question that I had in mind was, why do you think some people just give up, Do you think, or like advice before like a tipping point? Because it is not easy. Not everybody succeeds in their first year or not even 2 years, right? So when should you give up, or what else should you try in order to, stay motivated and actually go through with your business?
Okay. There's kind of two ways to go about it. The first reason why some people would give up if they're starting a business and they're feeling this is not going their way. The first reason could be because they're possibly looking for a quick formula, a quick secret that can help them get from point A to point B. When you go into business, you're in it for the long run. And once you go into business with that mindset that this is not something that's going to be successful in a year. If it happens, great, amazing. But you have to understand that this is going to be something that you're going to go through, that you're going to experience, you're going to develop as well as an individual. And it is going to take time. So you have to go into business knowing that you're in it for the long run. And if you're not in it for the long run, then maybe business is not for you. Maybe you should not be an entrepreneur. So that could be the first reason why people would not succeed. The other reason is because they go into something, they try it out, and after one or two failures, they think, this is not for me, it's not working, I'm out. So that's fine. If they made that decision, that's fine. But it's those who actually see things through to the end, no matter how many times you fall with your face flat on the floor. It's about getting up and repeating the process and going it. Learning from the mistakes. Like we said, there's no such thing as mistakes, only lessons. But those kind of elements as to why people can't all be entrepreneurs is because of the mindset. Their mindset is different than those who actually want to go down the road of entrepreneurial mindset. It doesn't mean that their mindset is wrong. It just means that their mindset is different. Now, that's why we need doctors, we need nurses, we need all these kind of people who's in the industries of being employed. Because if everybody was entrepreneurs, oh my gosh, the world would be just completely different from what it is today. And that's why being an entrepreneur is so much hard work, because it starts as you as an individual who is going through a lot of self-development. And you're going through these stages of picking yourself up every single time. I use this kind of analogy. If you think about a bowl of soup with noodles inside, okay? Your life is basically like one of those noodles. It's going up, down, spiraling around in this bowl, and it's never straight. There's no noodle in a bowl that is ever straight. And that's how the entrepreneurial world is. It is ups, there's downs, left, right. It's all over the place. But it's about continuing on that journey and seeing it through. And obviously, what motivates you and what guides you to get to where you want to be is your goal and evidently your mindset. Now, gosh, there's so much more I can say about this, but I think one of the things that you need to think about as an individual when you're just now in your first year or in your second year of business and you're wondering, am I going to make this? Am I going to make this? Should I give up? Don't give up. Talk yourself out of talking yourself out. Okay. And just keep on pushing. I mean, if you feel that this is the right decision for you, let me ask you this. Deep down in your heart, deep down in your stomach, in your deepest parts of your body, basically, you know that you are doing the right thing by being an entrepreneur, right? You feel that no matter what, there's just this drive deep down inside of you. And you can't describe it, but you know it's there and it's just pushing you. And yes, I get days where I'm thinking, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? Am I heading in the right direction? That's normal. But once you hit that kind of negative point, you need to know how to get yourself out of it. So that drive that is deep down inside of that can I say it's a sixth sense almost? You need to listen to that. And that's what's going to keep you moving forward. And that's what's going to help you and drive you to success.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking your time and being my first guest.
Oh, thank you.
I hope I can have you again in the future, maybe next year, right? After, let's see how I go with this podcast and then my business as well. And I will definitely implement those 3 elements in my personal life and business as well.
Oh, well, no, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, no, I really enjoyed being your first guest. I'm truly honored. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. You have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.